Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen, from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening. And as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome to Total Truth Show episode 133. Oh my gosh, that's got to be a good number, 133. And we have an amazing special guest with us, Rose Davidson, today. And we're going to be chatting about the truth about lived experience being treated as content. We've got, of course, Ken Kleinberg, my co-host. How are you going today, Ken?
Doing amazing.
Excellento. All right, now a bit about Rose before we chat with her today. She is a voice and story mentor based in Hobart, Tasmania, and she is the creator of the Impactful Voice Project. Drawing on her lived experience and decades of service to community, she helps coaches, entrepreneurs, and purpose-driven professionals turn their personal stories into clarity, credibility, and impact. An award-winning indie podcast host and producer, Rose built Talking with the Experts into a globally ranked show with more than 650 episodes. That's epic, Rose. Amazing. She's also the creator of the Opal System and the Shine Formula, two signature frameworks that simplify podcasting and elevate communication through structure, confidence, and authentic storytelling. As co-founder of Healing Through Love, Rose supports survivors of domestic and family violence through awareness events, resources, and the Healing Through Love podcast. Her work continues to center lived experience, compassion, and empowerment. Nowadays, with the Impactful Voice Project, she mentors people and organizations who want to use their story as a force for change, helping them speak with calm authority to grow their visibility and transform real-world experience into meaningful impact. Wow, Rose, that is one hell of a bio you've got there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this since forever. So thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, because you reached out to me originally saying, do you want to be on the Impactful Voice Project? And I thought, that sounds amazing. How about we also interview you as well? And this is how it works with the podcasting world, right? Is that, it's the law of reciprocity. You give and you always receive. And we've known
Absolutely.
each other, of course, for a long time before this as well. And we've interviewed each other on each other's shows previously as well, quite a few years ago. So it's great to have you back. And first time on Total Truth Show with Ken, which is absolutely awesome. And I love our topic today because content is king, as they say. And for a lot of people, they're very overwhelmed when it comes to content and what sort of content to share. And, should I really share some of my lived experience, my personal experience, or, how private do you remain on your socials? And I've noticed there's a lot of keyboard warriors who have a lot profiles. Have you noticed this? Keyboard warriors who love to have a go at people and be really nasty online, and they've all got locked profiles. So you know nothing at all about their lived experience, or even if they're actually human. So this is going to be very interesting in the AI world today. You know, how important is having great content. So Rose, why did you pick this topic today?
Well, it's all to do with the Impactful Voice project, and I think that a lot of people share stories, but it's, you know, usually in a book or you know, on a podcast or one of those things. And the Impactful Voice project doesn't do any of those things. To me, it's basically about using lived experience as not as content so much, but as something to be. It's not something that's, you know, packaged or extracted or posted for engagement, because we're seeing now a culture where deeply personal stories are being treated like, you know, marketing assets, and quite frankly, when that happens, the person behind the story gets lost. And I want to develop the person, not the story behind the person. I think it's more important to me that when people feel pressure to share before they're ready, or share in ways that aren't safe for them, the conversation gets lost in translation. And so I think, you know, focusing on the person or the storyteller rather than the story is quite important to me.
Well, we don't know who to trust nowadays. So we definitely want to know that we are dealing with a human being and not a robot, for starters. And that is getting harder and harder to tell, because now, of course, people can do videos which have AI. Well, AI videos are looking like real videos. They're getting better and better now with the AI tools out there. And with photos, I mean, gosh, you know, it's hard to tell what a real actual photo is anymore as well. So that, you know, the person behind the story is really, really important, I think. And I know you have quite a story yourself too, Rose. So what are some of the, you know, some of your background and the stories that you like to share of your lived experience?
Well, I've got quite a vast story, really. It starts with, you know, childhood abuse, and then living through domestic and family violence, and, you know, trying to start businesses that weren't successful. For me, it's been a really long journey, and living years in survival mode. And, you know, getting out of that has been a real challenge for me in the last 12 months. I think I didn't realize I was living in survival mode, and burnout and all those horrible things that people talk about but don't experience. And even now, I'm still getting over the fact that you know, being a survivor of coercive control for 34 years and not even realizing that was the fact is you know, been quite a journey, because recovery is not linear, healing's not linear, and you have good days, you have bad days. So you know, having a life that where I've been in survival mode for most of my life, since I was probably 6 or 7 that I can remember, and I'm 67 now, so that's a long time to be living in survival mode, and not realizing it until your world comes crumbling down, and you think, well, you know, am I going to be here tomorrow or am I not? And thankfully, I had my property manager was the one who helped me along to find the help I needed. So yeah, it was because of her that just a short conversation, and yeah, so blessings to her, basically.
Yeah. I feel you there, Rose, because a lot of people are in survival mode, and a lot of people are not conscious of being in survival mode. I think it's a massive thing. I would say, you know, 80-20 rule. I'd say 80% of people are in survival mode. You know, they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're, you know, living for today. They're not planning for tomorrow. They're in states of overwhelm, anxiety, you know, which I've also been a lot of my life. I've been highly addicted to adrenaline, as I've realized, as an elite athlete and also as a media person. You know, it was constant deadlines. It's go, 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 go. And I've realized that I've had quite an addiction to this kind of lifestyle. So what can happen is you go, 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 and then crash, go, 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 crash. And this burnout it's intense when it happens, right? When you're on a high, you're high, and then when you're low, you're low. And sometimes your body wants to balance out the highs with the lows. So the higher you go, the lower you can also go. And it's really quite challenging keeping that equilibrium. So what was it for you, Rose, that helped pull you out of your burnout and survival mode?
Well, I think giving up my podcast was a start. Living in a, as I said, in a coercive, controlled marriage, which I didn't realise until after we'd separated, that that's what I was actually living in. So, being in that unsafe position for 34 years was, quite challenging. And the burnout really came about because he got cancer about 8 years ago. And so I became his full-time carer. And then he got Alzheimer's. And then we moved to Tassie and looked after my mum, who also had dementia. So having them both in the same house was really emotionally and mentally challenging for me, because I already had mental health issues like bipolar, emotional dysregulation, and complex PTSD. So I was living with those three, as well as trying to cope with, my full-time caring role and trying to, keep myself safe. And so all of these things, the podcast had to go because it was just too much of a challenge for me to keep going and be present for my guests all the time. And being an indie podcaster, you do everything, behind the scenes. And so that's, I found that I was just getting further and further and further behind. So because I was doing 4 interviews a week, I started off doing 20 interviews a week when I first started, 6 years ago now. But in the end, I was still doing 4, and that's quite a lot to be able to do all the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, it takes about 2 or 3 hours by the time you do all the graphics and the editing, and then, uploading and, finding scripts and doing everything. So yeah, that had to go. And I think that was, it was a little bit heartbreaking for me, but it was a decision I had to make. But as soon as I gave up the podcast, I thought, I still want to help people. I still want to give people a voice. So it was on one hand, like the end of October, I decided to give up the podcast. And about 2 days later, on the 2nd of November, I decided and started the Impactful Voice Project, because I still knew that I had to help people find their voice.
You said that in that old interview series, you did 20 per week?
And when I first started, yeah.
I don't even know how that happens, because I feel it when I've got 4 or 5 in a week, and that's insanity. When I've got 4 and 5 in a week, I am blocking off that week in my calendar so no one else can book in. I can't imagine 20 a week. Good grief.
Yeah, it was really hard. I only did it for, I don't know, it was about a couple of months. I just couldn't sustain it any longer. I thought, oh my God, that's just too much. And I had no time for anything else. So, it was like, 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd get to bed because I'd been editing videos and audios and, then trying to look after my husband all day and trying to fit in interviews. And yeah, it was just go, 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 go. And I'm a bit like Aldwyn, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to, doing things, done isn't good enough for me. It has to be, I's dotted and T's crossed and stuff like that. So It was really challenging for me. And I had to give up some of that perfectionism and I could have delegated to somebody else, but to me, it wouldn't be the same quality. I'm just a bit like that. It's a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah, I'd love the opportunity to delegate, but right now I'm just not at that particular capital yet. But eventually, I know I'm going to get there, and I cannot wait to get myself a VA to where I can hand off some of the other stuff. That's going to really do, because right now with Total Truth Show, with my own interview series, plus multiple clients that I work with, yeah, that's about what I can handle. And then my coach and I strategizing with new ways to getting people in my world and different things like that. So I got a lot of things going on. Plus, I'm writing a second book. Oh, wow. Yeah. So doing 20 episodes per, I could, that would not happen with me.
Yes, that's extreme, a very extreme, Rose. And how long were your episodes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay.
Wow.
So ours are like 60 to 90 minutes. So I guess if you put it in perspective, actually most of ours are 90 minutes, although we've gone sometimes a little bit longer, haven't we, Ken? But we're mostly sticking to the 90 minutes nowadays. So yes, it is a lot of work, and that is amazing. But of course, 650 episodes in 6 years.
Ended up being 667 all up. That was the ones that I'd uploaded, and I had done a few that couldn't be uploaded because the quality was not good. Like it was glitchy, and the person sometimes had a very strong accent, and if I can't understand them, then audience wouldn't be able to either. I was on an interview yesterday as a guest, and great interview, but the language barrier was a bit of a challenge because I couldn't understand them. Quite often when he asked questions, I had to, even though I didn't ask him to repeat the question, I sort of got the gist of what he was trying to say, but it makes for not a very good guest experience when you can't understand what the host just is saying. So
I've had one or two guests on my interview series that have a real heavy accent, and I get that. It's quite a challenge. And then you get the episodes that, so most of the time I try to aim for flawless episodes, so I have no edits. And most of the time I'm able to get those. But then you have the ones where their internet connection is constantly cutting out. And so you literally have to pin, 34-minute mark, edit. 36-minute mark, edit. You literally have to pin that out so that when you go back to the edits, you know where to find them. But craziness.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Being a podcast host is really challenging. I love podcasting because I started a new one now. It's a solo one at the moment, but I love podcasting. I just love being able to help people. But I'm finding that I'm still not getting the episodes out there as quickly as I should be, but they'll get there. And later on, I'll probably get guests in to tell their stories, much like Aldwyn. She's submitted a story, and so I'll probably have a podcast episode with someone sharing their story on a podcast, just audio. I'm not doing video. I give all that up now for the reason of just the editing part of it just takes so much time.
And this is why we use StreamYard, and we go live and we have a finished product at the end of it. Although, of course, you can always top and tail it, and you can always add extra, right? You can always do more, even with a live stream show. But, I must say I love the live stream format on StreamYard. A lot of people use Riverside, or they use other sort of platforms out there.
Not a big fan of Riverside. I've been on a couple interviews with Riverside. I think Riverside's the most glitchiest platform, and I think it could be done so much better than what it is. Not a big fan of Riverside. So
no, I'm not either.
Yes, I haven't had the best experience. What do you record on, Rose?
Zoom. I use Zoom. It's my favorite thing.
The easiest way to freaking do it. It's cheap. It's easy. It's simple.
Yeah, I was on the paid account, like where I could have multiple, I think up to 100 guests on at a time. But because I'm not podcasting, I reduce the amount. So I can only do 40 minutes at a time, but that still suits me. It's half the price. So
see, I have a paid account, but I have to have a paid account because I have multiple clients, obviously. And then we do, I do multiple different things on Zoom. So but it is an investment that's well worth it to me because I use it.
Yeah. And for me, it was, I didn't mind Zoom. I had no issues with Zoom whatsoever, ever, anytime I was using it.
Yep.
Yes. I love your cup. Mrs. Always Right. That's very cool. So, yes, I use a paid Zoom account, and I have a paid StreamYard account, and StreamYard have just doubled their prices just recently. They've got new owners, and they've, the price has gone through the roof. However, it's the cost of doing business, isn't it? I guess the tools, you just pay whatever it costs. And I do love with StreamYard, you can download the video, the audio. With the top account, you can also download the transcript of the whole show. And nowadays they've got these AI clips that you might have seen that we've started to roll out Total Truth Show, quite a few of these little clips. And
I've shared a couple of them as well, because I'm like, ooh, that's good. I like what I'm sharing there. I'm going to use that. Yeah, yes. So I've been grabbing some of them.
Yes. Yep. That's all created in StreamYard. Now, it's still a little bit glitchy. I found some of it's a bit glitchy. They sometimes chop a bit of the head off, or, it doesn't quite have a clean cut on the end, etc. But we've just been rolling with it. We're not worrying about the perfectionism. We're just rolling with it. If they're sort of, 80, 90% good, then we're running with it, because I don't think you'll ever have 100% anyway. But if it's sort of like 60% or under, we're not using it. But yeah, they've got these AI generation clips that you can do now included. So they keep upgrading their platform and adding new features, which is pretty cool. So I do like that about StreamYard. But yes, the price has gone through the roof. It's basically doubled in the last year or so.
I use Wondershare Filmora to edit my videos, and they've got the option to do shorts and all those sorts of things. So you pay extra to do the shorts and whatever, but you get credits. You buy credits to be able to do the AI stuff. But I love Wondershare. I think it's a great platform for video editing, and I can also do my audios on there. I can record an audio just as quickly and download it as an MP3. So for me, it works.
There's another platform out there that's really, really popular, and I've used it, and I do like the results I get from it. It's Opus Clip. It is a complete Opus Clip. So on their free account, you get 60 minutes per month. So basically, for people like you and me, you'd upload one 60-minute video, and that's all you could use for the month. But the clips that it comes up with, they're pretty cool. And then they've got different paid accounts you could do. You can also buy more minutes if you want and stay on the free account and just buy as you need. I mean, it's a little bit more, but that's the other thing that I do. The other thing that I commonly do if I really want to get creative and kind of do my own thing is I will throw the entire video into CapCut. And then I will go through it. And usually as I'm going through the video, I can find like little sections. Ooh, I like what I said there. And I can just cut and paste, and then I throw it in, and then I make my own reel out of it. So I've kind of learned how to do things like that on my own if I don't want to use up my credits on Opus Clip. But yeah, so it's just finding different ways to get creative. I used to use iMovie on the on my Apple computer, but as time went along, I really like CapCut for like all my video editing that I need to do. They've got a lot of really cool features that you can use on there. As a matter of fact, our intro for this show, I actually so I did 80% of that intro. I created 80% of it on CapCut, and then there is a small like 20% of it that was created on iMovie, because iMovie had some features that CapCut didn't. So like in our intro, you see where at the bottom it comes up with our name, and you've got that nice professional looking bar down there. It looks very professional. CapCut does not do that. So I had to take the whole thing, throw it into iMovie, put that feature on there, then re-upload the video and re-put it back on CapCut. So you want to talk about creativity and moving between two platforms like that. I've learned all the things like that. So yeah, I put together our intro using both of those platforms.
Well done.
I love that. That's very cool. And we do love our intro. Thank you, Ken. You've done such a good job with our intro, even though our logo has changed, and I've noticed the intro has the old logo on it. But, these things, you don't worry about that, right? Now, even one of them's got the Media Queen TV logo on it, I noticed. But, it doesn't matter, right? It just, you get the idea from the intro. We're not letting perfection get in the way of progress is really important when it comes to your content, right?
And the other reason why you've got your Media Queen logo on there, plus you've got our old logo on there, is because what I did is, if you notice, there's different scenes from different interviews. So those are from different times. There's no way to take that out. So it just gets put in as it gets put in, as I'm, adding the little clips that I wanted. But so that's why there's the different logos on there. But yeah.
Yeah, I realize that. And there probably is a way you can take it out. Maybe in some editing platforms, there probably is a way, it's like removing watermarks there probably is a way if you're really going to fiddle with it, right? And I love the fact that both of you love doing the video editing, or you've done a lot of video editing, because I certainly haven't. That's why I have a VA. My VA does most of that stuff. So she, thankfully, and I've had a VA for many years, and honestly, I do not know what I would do without a VA nowadays. And when we say VA, for those who don't know, virtual assistant or a personal assistant, my virtual assistant is in the Philippines, and she's been with me for 3 years now. I had another lady before that for 4 years. So I've had several VAs over time. And for me now, with the way I do content, it's absolutely essential that I have support with my content, because there's no way I would be as visual, because people say, I see you everywhere, Aldwyn, they say, right? So basically I'll do the original content, and then my VA will share it out in all the different places. And she also does the editing of the video. So she's been putting together the AI clips from StreamYard, for example. Then she'll send it to me for approval. We'll do a description with it. And then we'll send it out, and then she'll put it onto TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. She'll put it on all the different platforms. And, so there's, and I really, ideally would like several VAs. Right now I've got one. And I think as the world of social media becomes so overwhelming for so many people, I think if you really want to be seen, heard, and known, which is what I help people do, be seen, heard, and known amongst all the noise, then it's important that you have content that does, that cuts through that, right? That's scroll. You have content that stops the scroll. And some of my best performing content is actually the clips from our podcasts are some of the best performing content. Now, I had a post that I put out last week saying, I love Australia, but with a destructive government and 125 taxes, I'm now considering moving overseas one day. What country would you recommend? Now, that post has had nearly 30,000 views now. That's gone viral. The comments and things that have come in from that have just been huge. Right now, that was a simple post, a simple content post. It wasn't about, well, I guess it kind of was about my lived experience, because I'm talking about the Australian government. Like, I love Australia. However, I'm not happy with the government, as a lot of people aren't. And we've had, I believe now, over 150,000 millionaires have left Australia because of our ridiculous tax system. Now, most millionaires don't mind paying a little bit of tax, but when you are targeted because you've got a certain amount of wealth, you are targeted and taxed so highly. This is like the communist regime, right? It's like it's like making Australia communist. Like, okay, if you're going to make money, we'll just take half of that, thanks, or we'll take even 70% of it. I think it works out about 70% of people's income is going straight to the government if you earn a certain amount. And so what they're encouraging people to do is actually to become dole bludgers. Let's just face it, right? I mean, why would you work if you're going to get taxed to the hilt when you can just get money from the government? So it's very interesting what's going on in Australia at the moment. Plus, we're bringing in 1.5 million or so unskilled migrants into Australia. So now there's a massive problem with, with housing, right? People like, rental affordability or housing affordability is shot through the roof. And I just heard on the news this morning that the Albanese government, which is the Anthony Albanese is the head of Australia, right? They've just allowed 4 ISIS brides and 9 children into Australia. And the Australian government said, we don't really want this to happen, but there's no way legally we can stop it happening because these people are Australian citizens. And they're saying, so they've now let these ISIS brides and 9 children, and these people breed like no tomorrow, these fanatic, Muslims that we're bringing in. And, of course, there's a lot of Muslims that aren't fanatic and a lot of people of all sorts of cultures that aren't fanatic, but it's this fanaticism where, certain religions out there believe that it's okay to kill people because they're not of your religion, right? That is a real concern. And, of course, a lot of Australians are now not feeling safe in our own country because this is what our government is doing. Right. And of course, you can't talk about any religions because now we've got the hate laws as well. That's just another beautiful thing the government's brought in. Now we've got hate laws. You can't say anything bad about anyone because someone's bound to get offended, whether whatever you talk about. So there's a lot of crap going down in Australia. However, in saying that, there's corruption, I'm sure, right across the world. And I don't know that any particular countries are going to be better to live in all ways. There's going to be pros and cons wherever you go to. A lot of Australians have decided to go to Thailand, to places like Bali, to Panama. Even Dubai now is not that safe. A lot of people were going to Dubai for very low taxes, but now Dubai is not a safe place. America's going crazy bombing Iran. I mean, you know, Trump, I had a lot of faith in Trump, and all I've seen is bombs going off left, right, and center. But anyway, that's a whole other tangent we can go on. And it's interesting times we're living in, right? So when it comes to content, like, I want to know what's going on for you in your world. What is going on for you? We've got Tim Gillette. Now, Tim Gillette, I haven't seen you for such a long time. Tim is an absolute legend, and he has the Tim Gillette Show. He's joining us here live on Facebook. Great to see you, Tim. What is going on in your world, Tim? I'd love to know with your content. What is happening in your world? What is your lived experience currently in your world? Because a lot of people, they love to pry, they love to stalk, and they love to also be keyboard warriors. And there's also those that will encourage your growth and inspire you and uplift you to be the best version of yourself as well. So with the keyboard warriors that love to attack, and I'd say 99% of them have locked profiles and even anonymous names. They even go, you know, they're very quick to have a go at someone. But, you know, they're probably sitting in their misery, because hurt people, sitting in their misery going, I want to feel better today and put someone down, right? Subconsciously, that's what's going on.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I want to feel better about myself and have a go at someone else. And so for those people, I say blessed release, right? I send you love, and I hope you find your way one day in a loving, kind way, because there's no need to be nasty, right? There's no need to be nasty. And with these,
there isn't. No, and I believe that, you know, that kindness goes a long way, and you don't have to make someone else feel bad just because you're feeling dirty for the day. It's no need at all.
These ISIS brides and children, I mean, maybe they're perfectly calm, peaceful kinds of people. However, the fact that they're linked to a fanatic ISIS group has me concerned, because no doubt if you're bringing, you know, family members of ISIS people in here, well, very soon the ISIS people will be here probably without us even knowing it. We won't even know that they're ISIS people or fanatic Muslims or whatever. You know, like, we just don't know. And we're bringing this into our once safe community on the, on the Gold Coast in Australia. We're bringing this kind of stuff. We're inviting this into Australia. And by bringing unskilled migrants in as well, like, look, Australia's been built primarily on a lot of, migrants, right? It's been built on the work of migrants. But
they were skilled. But back in the day, they were skilled people.
Like my dad was. My dad was an engineer. My parents migrated from Turkey back in 1970. So I'm a first generation Aussie. So I am from migrant stock in Australia. However, now we are bringing in so many unskilled migrants from, war-torn places, and people who've got all sorts of issues, probably got lots of PTSD, and they're probably, quite used to running around with guns and knives and things like that. So that's my little rant about that. I've said my piece. So content, lived experience. What is going on for you? So Ken, what is going on for you right now?
Around exactly what? I'm like, okay, wait, that's a loaded question. So
it
what?
Is, right? Lived experience. This is what this show's about, right? The truth about.
Okay, so just anything. Okay.
Treated as content. Okay, well, we know your lived experience tying in with your why you do what you do. Your lived experience around that of being massively overweight and losing the weight, right? That's part of your lived experience that relates to your product that you sell, right?
Yes.
So for those who don't know about that, maybe just share the quick snippet version of that, of your lived experience. That
I can do. Okay, yeah, because I was like, okay, where are we headed with this? So that clears it up. So yeah, I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've been able to keep that off for 7+ years now. 6+, old message. 7+ years now, and without a diet and having that be sustainable. The interesting thing, though, is the question that I get a lot of people ask me is how in the world have you been able to keep the weight off? So one of the things that I say in response to that is like, well, I'm going to tell you what it's not. It's definitely not about a diet. That diet industry is built off of failure. There's a reason why it's a $1 trillion industry. They know you're coming back. And it's not about a list. It's not about spending thousands of dollars on supplements. You know how many people I talk to that are on like so many different supplements. They're doing the shakes. They're spending thousands of dollars out there on all this stuff. And they're starting to come to the conclusion that it's not working the way they want. And it's because that's not the solution. My lived experience around this is, hey, it took me 5.5 years to drop 62.5 pounds. And the reason why it took me 5.5 years is because I started at a point in my life where I was determined I wasn't going to follow this. I wasn't going to go on a diet. I wasn't even going to talk to anybody about it. So I literally fumbled my way through my journey, figuring it out on my way as I went. This was also during a time before all this stuff about the industries come out. More awareness around food and awareness around these ingredients, that ingredients, bioengineered ingredients, like all of that. That was way before all that came out. I didn't know any of that. Yet I fumbled my way through my journey, dropped 62.5 pounds, and I've been able to keep that off for 7+ years now. That is my lived experience. That is how I empower people. Clients that come to me, obviously, I'm not going to tell them that it's going to take them 5.5 years, because it's not. It's going to take them much shorter than that, because now they've got me, they've got my experience, and they got me in their pocket. And I have had countless clients that have come in my world that have made the discovery through what I teach around the industry, around food, and I've literally given them eyes to see beyond the marketing deceptions and everything. That's another funny thing too. I get a lot of people that come into my world and I talk about marketing deceptions. And when I start talking about marketing deceptions of the food industry, guess what the most common person does? 9 out of 10 people, they are nodding their head like they know. Aldwyn used to nod her head like she knew, and then she came into my world. And you broke down midway through my boot camp because you could not believe what you were seeing. And that's the case. 9 out of 10 people that come into my world nod their head when I say this, and this about that industry. And then they get into my world, they take my mini educational boot camp, and they're like, I only knew a fraction of this stuff. Wow, I did not know that it went this far. I didn't know that that was in that. I didn't know that was that and that this. These are the kind of people now that I work with. And then I give them eyes to see, because when it comes to the stuff that I give out, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You are forever changed after you come in my world. In a very freeing way, in a very empowering way. Because like I said, once you have eyes to see, once you know the truth is going to set you free. You're going to be empowered. So that's why every person that works with me, basically, they come out on the other end standing on a foundation that I can guarantee they're never going to be moved from again. That's my passion. And one of the reasons why I have that passion, also part of my lived experience story, is because around summer of 2020, I was questioning a lot of things that were going on. The narrative wasn't making sense anymore. The pieces of the puzzle weren't fitting together. Thankfully, I had a really good friend that literally red-pilled me to the fullest, not just around what was going on summer of 2020. And then I just started doing a lot of deep research around a lot of topics. And that's where I, finally landed in the health, wellness, and food industry. And I made a very deprivating discovery. A very kind of depressing discovery, frustrating discovery. We have been lied to on such a mass and wide level. It then became my passion to expose that industry for what it is and share the truth with each person that God brings me, to expose that industry and give them the actual truth around things, so that empowers them. And so that's part of my lived experience. Like, gone are the days where we just bury our head in the sand anymore with this industry and this food and stuff like that. So anyhow, I can talk forever. And
Yes.
So I just want to share, so I'm just going to leave that with my shared experience, my story, and the things that I do. So there you go.
Ken. So that was the short version. So so wait till you hear the long version. No, see that passion is beautiful, Ken. I love that. And because of your lived experience, you are totally equipped to be able to help people to lose weight if they want to lose weight and to do it consciously. And I must say, since your boot camp, I have been turning the freaking thing over all the time. And I've actually got myself a magnifying glass because it's so small. I think of you every time I look at ingredients, because things that you think are healthy, they've got things like vegetable oil in them. They've got things like sunflower oil, which you think sounds healthy, right? It's amazing how much has got vegetable oil and sugar in it. Even sugar, like it blows me away. Sugar and vegetable oil in just about everything. And, we wonder what's going on with our environment with all these, places like Kuala Lumpur. When you fly into Kuala Lumpur, for half an hour, all you see is palm trees or for palm oil, where there used to be rainforest. And I look at that and I just feel for all the animals that lived in that rainforest and what we're doing to the planet by supporting buying products with vegetable oil or palm oil, yet alone what it does to our body. So we've actually covered this in other episodes. We've talked about the dangers of vegetable oils and different types of oils. So go back to some of our previous episodes to go through that. Thank you for sharing that, Ken. That it's a big one, right? And being consistent, because a lot of people, they'll go and do a diet and they'll think, oh, they'll lose weight. And it's interesting that people go, right, I'm going to lose this weight. And then next time I see them, they're like double the size. It's like, hang on a sec, what happened there? It's because maybe they're focusing too much on it, whatever it is, I don't know. But, sometimes we can get way too hung up on losing weight or following certain diets and then, finding it doesn't work and then getting frustrated and then eating more, emotional eating, etc. So, yes, and you probably know more about why that happens, Ken, why people, when they diets, why they put on weight afterwards.
It's because, number one, it wasn't sustainable for them. So you basically have this process where they do all this work to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. And then once the goal is reached, what happens to most people? They relax. Yes. Life gets back to normal. And that weight creeps back on. It is literally the definition of insanity for me. If you are going to do all of that work to lose the weight, why not do it in a way to where it is sustainable and it produces lifelong results? And part of that journey is exactly what diets skip. And that's why it cannot be about a diet anymore moving forward. Part of that journey is about the becoming process inwardly, the embracing process, embracing both the ups and the downs, especially the downs, the times where you fall off the horse, the messy moments, the messy seasons. Why? Because those are your growth points. That's where you get to get smarter, better, and wiser. That is what diets don't teach. And that's why when most people lose the weight, they can't keep it off because the root issues internally were never addressed. It's like taking a lawnmower, mowing over the weeds, and planting a beautiful garden.
Yes.
And what eventually happens with that garden, the weeds come up.
Yeah.
And the weeds represents the person that's gaining all their weight back. So that's why it can't be about a diet, because it doesn't fix anything.
Yes. And they go back to the old habits of emotional eating, and then they reward themselves. They think, oh, that's great, I've lost a few kilos. Now I'll just eat pizza for the rest of the week, or whatever it is, right? So they reward themselves with food, which I know I've done myself. So I can definitely say, yes, guilty. I've done this. I've been on the diets. I've put the weight back on. And
yeah, I have done too. I went a couple of weeks ago. I'd been eating really healthily and doing really, really well. And then on the Sunday, I just had a bit of a craving for some chocolate. Went and I ate the whole chocolate bar. Because I can't just have one piece of chocolate.
No, you're extreme. But dark chocolate is okay, Rose.
Yes, chocolate. Well, it was dark chocolate because that's my favourite.
That's okay then. That's all right. But maybe not the whole bar. But anyway, everything in moderation, right? Oh, classic. So lived experience. So what is the best ways, do you think, Rose, to share our lived experience when it comes to content? Say you're in business, or you just want maybe to build connections, or you want to inspire people through your content. What are the best ways to go about it, do you think?
I think, nowadays stories are being extracted and they're not being respected, and there's a lot of pressure to be vulnerable for visibility, and algorithms reward people for the exposure and not the safety. So a lot of people are, they share their story too soon. They get re-triggered. They have regret. They have loss of control about how the story is shared. And once it's online, well, it can't be taken back. So, people see a post, they don't want to, but they don't see what happens after that. The post is out there in the Ethernet. So, through a lived experience lens, a lot of us are, told to be quiet, not to share. Tensions between, the silence and the overexposure, but there is a middle ground that we can all aspire to, and I think sharing your lived experience is a lot easier if you're not pressured into doing it, and you do it in such a way that it's safe, and and you know that you can share as much as you want without having to share the whole thing.
Yes. Well, that's very interesting because I often cry. And it's not like I deliberately go out to cry, but like yesterday I did a talk for a networking group, and the topic was transforming fear to freedom, the power of your story. That was my topic. And I shared a section there because, they were listing off all my credentials and some of the things I've done, like been in 30 books, played table tennis for Australia for 6 years, doing our 20th Animal Action event this year. And as they were sharing all this, I was like, oh my gosh, I've just been slightly ambitious through my life. And I started to share about where that came from. And as a child, I wanted my dad's love. And the way I got my dad's love was by achieving. And I actually got quite emotional as I was sharing this. And, my dad and I are incredibly close now. But, Dad being from Turkey, and he was a Christian in Turkey. So that was a whole other ball game over there, being in a Muslim country as a Christian. And he has, Greek and Ukrainian background as well. We've got quite a mix of different nationalities in our bloodline. But basically in Turkey, what happens is that the guys hang out with the guys and the girls hang out with the girls. And so Dad would hang out with my brother, and my mum, he would sort of leave me with Mum. And I always wanted my dad's affection, because Dad was like the head of the family. And it's like I constantly wanted this approval of my dad. And I found that when I achieved, I got my dad's love. I got his approval. I got his well done kind of, and so that kind of, led to me being very ambitious with table tennis initially. And as a kid, my parents would say, why can't you be like your brother at times, right? They'd say, why can't you be like my brother? Now, my brother ended up being an optometrist. He's in Gosford. He's an optometrist. He's married with 4 children and 4 now grown children. And my brother and I are really close, but, like chalk and cheese, completely. Like I was the creative black sheep of the family, and he was very scientific and, became an optometrist, right? I got into the media and the creative field. But as I was sharing this, I got very emotional on this talk. And then this morning I was at the Gold Coast referral group at the meeting there, and they were talking about, what does Mother's Day mean to you? Because, of course, on Sunday is Mother's Day here in Australia. And they were saying, what does Mother's Day mean to you? And I got emotional again because I shared about my mum, how a year and a half ago, she had a fall under the care of a carer, and she has dementia. So I feel you with Rose with the dementia. She has dementia. She was walking no problem before this fall, but she has a fall under the care of a carer. And yes, I'm going to say that again because for 10 years, my dad looked after Mum and she never had a fall. And after that fall and 3 months in a hospital bed, she has now forgotten how to walk. It's not like she can't walk. She can definitely walk because she broke her arm. She didn't break her legs. She broke her arm. But because of the dementia, and after 3 months lying in a hospital bed where your legs are up in the air most of the time, she's now forgotten how to walk. So now we've got her in a nursing home in Bribie Island. And it's every time I see her, I walk out crying. I walk out so sad for her, because she was walking for half an hour, no problem. This one fall, 3 months in a hospital bed, and now she cannot walk. And we've tried everything to get her up. And, I go to see her and she goes, are we going home now? Are we going now? And I say, I can't take you with us, Mum, because you're not walking, and it's, this is my lived experience right now. So on Sunday, I'm going to go see my beautiful mum and my dad. And I think to myself, look, there's so many people who don't have parents alive or who are disconnected from their parents. And I think to myself, well, just be grateful. Just be grateful your parents are alive, and whatever it looks like. Sometimes we really want a different impact, a different outcome. We really want it. We want different things for people, but there's only so much you can control, right, Rose? Like you caring roles, you know what it's like, right? There's only so much you can do, and particularly if you're dealing with people with dementia. Ken cares for his mum, for example, right? And and it was interesting because there was about 30 people or so at this meeting this morning. You can actually see a live video because we had some live music there as well. I did some live videos there. And everyone had a different story about their mum. One guy hasn't spoken to his mum for 40 years because she misappropriated funds from the dad's will. The dad died young and the mum misappropriated the funds, and he hasn't spoken to his mum for 40 years. There's many other people whose mum had actually passed away. There were people there who weren't mothers, but they're mothers to animals. I said, well, I'm not a mother. And one thing my parents always said, or mum actually said to me often, she said, wait till you have children, then you'll know what it's like being a mum. And I actually never had children. I got pregnant and miscarried at 9 weeks, so I've had a miscarriage. However, I have been a mum to some rescue cats in my time, and I now have 6 chickens that I'm a mum to. And I think I've been very motherly with a lot of my clients and my friends as well. So we all have different ways that we express that, I guess, that motherly nurturing side of us. But that's the lived experience, is that life throws curveballs at any moment, and most people do not share what's going on for them in their life. I did a post on socials a little while ago, and I shared about how I had a nervous breakdown. So part of my lived experience is growing up with a lot of negative news, and my dad always said anger is danger, and I repressed and I suppressed that anger for a long time, which led to depression. And now what I do is I inspire good news globally to help impact change, to help reduce depression and suicide rates and lift the energy on the planet. My lived experience is I've had depression for many years. I've had 4 friends who've taken their own lives by the age of 45. That's my lived experience. So I started a Good News Day. I started a Global Good News Challenge. Every month we have free challenges where people can share gratitude and good news. My lived experience, my mess in my lived experience has now turned into my message. The mess has turned into the message. So then the trick is, okay, the mess turned the message. For those in business who want to monetize it, how do you then monetize going from your mess to your message to then monetizing it? So what are your thoughts on that, Rose? What are some different ways to monetize the message?
Well, I'm not wanting to monetizing messages. It's my thing. I have thought about it, monetizing it, but for me, I don't think that it's a way to unless you're selling a book and you using your lived experience as a book, and you in that way. I don't ever think I would use the Impactful Voice Project as a money-making thing. I believe that stories should be shared with honesty, integrity, and should be free to share. That's just my view. It's my podcast. I could have charged people. I mean, if people want to sponsor the project, I'm all open for that, and that would be the only way that I would monetize it, is by sponsorship or donations or whatever. But I wouldn't actually charge people to write a story, because to me, it just would be not the right thing, and it wouldn't be comfortable for me to do that. But I just couldn't do it. It might sound silly to some, but to me, it's just not a space I can go to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've never valued money highly in business. A lot of what I've done has been charity work. A lot of what I've done has been community work. Because I've had other ways to make money, I haven't focused on that I have to make money in my business to survive or to have a great life. So that's very interesting. And I also realized that what we value, what we focus on, will grow as well. And I know that if I have more money, that I can do more good as well. I can, buy up big blocks of land and have an animal sanctuary. And, I have kind of a mini animal sanctuary in the Gold Coast right now. with the 6 chickens, 2 cats, dog, and 2 water dragons we have here. We have kind of our own little mini animal sanctuary, and we do get kookaburras, rainbow lorikeets, some amazing birds, currawongs that come through here as well. So very, very blessed and grateful for that. And there's always more we can do. Of course, the more money we have, the more we can do in that respect. But there's also a lot we can do for free. The Global Good News Challenge is absolutely free. In fact, we put money into that by sharing people's videos out to our followers. So it actually costs us money to do the Global Good News Challenge. And we've been doing it every single month now since June 2020 through that whole COVID period to help lift the energy, because there was a lot of depression, a lot of mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just don't think, in my mind that I want to give people. I want to give to people, and so for me to charge people would be taking, and I'm not a taker. To me, it's just I couldn't do it.
Although you do have some programs, right? And I presume you charge for your programs. Is that right?
They're podcasting programs, but I do charge for those. Yes. But as far as the Impactful Voice project, I have no programs or anything like that are associated with it. Just the podcast, which is not just a story, but no charges for submitting stories or your audio or your video or anything like that. I mean, I'm even happy to edit videos if people are, wanting to share. But to me, sharing is a personal thing, and why should people be charged a fee to share something that's personal?
Well, I guess it depends how much work you're putting into it too, because you also need to be rewarded for your time as well, I believe.
My reward, Aldwyn, is the fact that the story that someone shares with me and with the website and the social media can help someone else. As long as it helps someone, overcome a challenge, or might even save someone's life. Who would know? The fact that I'm actually helping another person, and I get to help that person through that other person's story, then that's my reward. For me, it sounds very avant-garde, I suppose, but that's just the way I am. I'd rather give than take.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And it makes me think of our Fear to Freedom book. Like, we put this book out last year, right? Now, this is my 30th book project I've been in, and we put a lot of work into this, right? There's so much work. Leanne Clune and I did last year's one with 13 authors from around Australia in this book, and it was a lot of work. So, we did charge people to come into this book, and we're charging people to come into the next book. However, what they're getting for that is for what we're charging, they're getting a lot more value than what we're charging for. And we're doing all the editing, the design, it's a lot involved, a lot of marketing. So we have to cover some of our time. Otherwise, we just end up being a complete charity.
Absolutely. No, I agree. But, as I said, I'm a giver, not a taker. Always have been, even despite all the crap I've been through all my life. I'd rather give to people than take.
Yeah, and I think I've been a lot like that through most of my life too, and some people are just takers the whole way. So I think it's about balance. I think it's about you also, like, money is an exchange of energy, is how I look at it, right? So yes, I think it's great to do a lot of charity work. Like, all our animal action events have all been charity events. We've raised funds for different charities every year, and I've probably put 3 months of my year into each of those projects for the last 20 years. So there's that, as well as I've done so many free events over the years, etc. We just ran an Impact Change retreat for entrepreneurs. Well, that was a paid event, but then we had catering to cover. We had all sorts of expenses to cover for that, marketing, etc. So you also don't want to be operating at a loss, right? You want to make sure that it's fair exchange. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if I go to speaking opportunities, they will be I will charge for those. I'm thinking of holding retreats. I will charge for that. I'm running an online event, or 2 online events in June, to teach people how to write stories safely. That is a paid event as well. So in that way, yes. But as far as the whole project is concerned, submitting a story to me, I would feel really bad if I charged, like you're going to submit a story. I would feel bad if I charged you to submit a story to me, because you are taking the time to write the story, and finding the graphics that you want used in your story. All the time that's taking me is just to put it on the website and to share it on socials. To me, it's not much time at all. It's probably an hour of my time. I don't care, I'm not doing anything else. I'm a pensioner. I have nothing else to do. So
got you.
Really, I'm on a disability pension because I can't walk any great distance, because I have, physical, I can't walk, just put it that way, very far. So, for me, so sitting here and helping somebody tell their story is what makes me feel good. It impacts my life. Some of the stories that I shared are quite heartwarming, and to see the challenges that they've been through. I think the last story that I had, she was a drug addict for a number of years, had her children taken off her so many times, but she has turned her life around, and now she is going to school. She's been clean for a couple of years, and she's got her children back, and now she's going to study to learn to help others overcome their addictions.
Amazing.
So she was referred to me by through a network group, and apparently, so I've been told, that her giving me the story has boosted her confidence no end, and now she's quite happy to go out and help others and use her voice that she has finally found to be able to help others. And that's what the whole aim of the Impactful Voice Project is to give other people a voice who may not have had a voice previously, and be able to use that voice for good.
I love that. That is so cool. And I must say, it's very satisfying when you help people share their stories and they've never shared their stories before. And we actually had several of our authors in this book, several people that came into this book that didn't really know what to share. They were thinking to themselves, I don't really know if my story's good enough. Is it a strong enough story? Because we tend to compare our stories with others, don't we? We tend to think, oh, no, their story is better than my story. Oh, my story, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing, those three fears that people have. I'm not good enough, I don't belong, and I'm not loved. And so a lot of this is actually with sharing content and with sharing your lived experience, a lot of it comes down to actually having self-belief and self-love.
Yeah.
If you don't have self-belief and self-love, you are not going to step out confidently and share from the heart and share your story. Yes,
I think a lot of people are just afraid, as you say, is my story good enough? Will people... will people believe it? Will people pay attention? Will people take, the lessons that I've learned, will they take them on board? So and this is where the project has stalled, because I think people are feeling that, even though I've invited a number of people. I think, I do know they have busy lives and so forth, but I think some people are thinking those exact thoughts, and I think it's not a good place to be, because everyone has a story and everyone's story is valuable to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you know just 10% more than someone else in a certain topic, you can teach it, right? Just 10% more. And so this is where, putting yourself out as an expert, like, I've had 40 plus years media experience, and I don't know everything about the media. I call myself the media queen, but really, it's an ongoing journey. We're constantly learning and evolving in whatever our field of expertise is, right? As I'm sure Ken is with health, and I'm sure you are with what you do as well. Like we constantly evolving and growing. You're either, ripe and rotting or green and growing, as they say. And I am a massive believer in investing in yourself, investing in your personal development, your business development. I have multiple mentors, probably too many, actually. I've had different coaches say to me, Aldwyn, no more programs, right? No more coaches and mentors, right? Because I've tended to go a little bit extreme with that. However, and now I'm learning to say no a lot more, than I have in the past. But yeah, it's I am an absolute sponge for knowledge. I love it. But you see, that's all helped me become who I am today. And it's also helped with my own mental health, because I've had massive issues around not feeling like I belonged. I was bullied as a kid, never felt I belonged at school, never felt I belonged at home, didn't want to be here for many years because I saw so much negative news. I saw animal cruelty, and I thought, why do you even want to live in a world that's so nasty? So for a long time, I was very self-destructive. I was drinking and smoking a lot, doing drugs, running away from home at 13. Got kicked out of home at 15, went from top of my primary school to failing everything in year 11. And then, turning point happened. As for a lot of people, there'll be a turning point in your life where you might be, this roller coaster ride of life. And then you hit rock bottom, and then suddenly there's a turning point. And you either come back up or you fall off the roller coaster ride, right? And now I chose to come back. I was like, no, turning point was my boyfriend sleeping with my best friend in front of me. That was the turning point for me at 15. And so I then called my back in the landline days, where you had the actual landline telephones, for those who remember those. I remember calling my mum in tears and saying, I can't stand this anymore. I can't live like this. And she of course had to check it with Dad, because Dad was the head of the house. Mum was an amazing housewife, and she was a phenomenal mother. And she still is. She's still a beautiful lady. And, Dad then said, I'll let you come home under one condition. And that is that you study hard. And at that point, I'd failed everything in year 11 at Mossman High School in Sydney. You study hard, you turn your life around, and you get into uni and you create a future for yourself. And sure enough, I did. And a great thing my dad did at the time is he swapped schools. From year 11, I went from Mossman High School to Forest High School in Sydney, for those who know the Northern Beaches area. And changing the environment was massive, because now no longer am I hanging out with those. And I used to hang out with all the sort of, I'd say, drop kick kids, like all the ones that are like, foster kids or massive issues, massive issue kids, kids that were, on the and doing all the, 3 abortions by the age of 16, all that sort of stuff. I was hanging out with a really bad crowd, really, when I look back at it. So thankfully, he changed my environment, went to year 12, worked my butt off, got into a media degree, which is the only thing that ever interested me in the whole, when you went like 17, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And then they give you the manual for uni, looking through the manual, and there's so many different courses. The only thing that interested me was media. And sure enough, and the impact that media has to create change in the world. That's what I really love. Yeah. And while there was a lot of negative media, I thought, okay, I'm going to get this negative media that I'm seeing on the mainstream TV and in documentaries, and I'm going to share about it in other ways and look at what we can do in a positive way to overcome some of that negativity that's out there. There's always, like the yin yang of life, there's always the light and the dark. And I think in sharing our lived experience, it's noticing, okay, what were the really dark moments for you in your life? And what were the light moments, or what were the turning points? And how has that even led to what you do today? How has it led to what you do today? Because a lot of people start their business because they've gone through some challenges in that area. I help people be seen, heard, and known. For a long time, I felt invisible. I felt no one was seeing me, hearing me, or that I was known to no one except my invisible friends at one point.
Yeah, that's why I started the project last year, because after separating from my husband and sending him off to the mainland to go into aged care, so I was as far away from him as possible, and wanting to do something meaningful. I thought I'd been not seen or heard. I wasn't allowed to be seen. I wasn't allowed to be heard. I didn't have a voice as much as I'd wanted it, and I used to fight for it all the time. But so I wanted to give that to other people, and through that I wanted to use my own voice for betterment of other people. So I've got a lot of stories on the website of my own personal journey, and my lived experience of not through all the abuse I endured through all my life. So hopefully that's when someone reads it, they'll be able to see, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what the project is all about, is just the opportunity to give a voice to somebody who may not have a voice. Like the lady that I shared about who had the drug issue. She didn't feel she had a voice. And now through her sharing the story, she's worked out that, yes, she does. And it's given her the confidence to be able to share that with others. And that's the whole idea of the project.
I love that. It's so powerful. So with this sharing, Ken, you've been a little bit quiet there for a bit. Is there another area of your life that you'd like to share about, of another lived experience that maybe you haven't shared before, or maybe, another lived experience? As I find, when we connect this way with people, when we share from the heart of our lived experience, it's amazing how people connect with that and how people warm to that. They know, people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? And I think it takes a lot of guts to share vulnerably, to share from the heart.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
and yeah.
One story I'll share around that, and I think this fits right into what we're talking about here, totally. So, in the very beginnings of when I first launched my brand and company, Mastery Weight Loss, and it's Mastery Weight Loss because moving forward, it can't just be about weight loss anymore. It must be about mastery. You've got to own the journey. You get to own the journey. I remember my founding mentor, who we've also interviewed here on this show, and we've had him on our show twice now, I do believe, Mike Montez. I call him my founding mentor. I remember the day when I was on a Zoom call with him and he challenged me to get in front of the camera. And at that time, I had no experience doing any kind of video work, live or anything. And the whole idea of being in front of a camera and putting myself out there just made me very uncomfortable. Plus, at that particular time, my Facebook account was my personal account. And he corrected me very quickly on that one. He's like, your Facebook account is now your business account. Get out there and do it. And so I was like, really? And what I mean by my Facebook account was my personal account. So much so, like, I had done all kinds of work to block certain people that I didn't want to see my stuff, to, hide certain things from certain people. I had done all the work to keep my Facebook down to like a close circle of friends. And I only shared certain things, and so he wanted me to open up and just do the thing, right? And that terrified me. Like, he literally had to pull tooth and nail to get me to finally do it and to finally put myself out there. And I remember how it all started is he made me commit to not only producing my first masterclass, but doing an entire course as well on my website, and then announcing it on Facebook on when it was all going to come out. So me thinking that I was being wise and creative, so I went ahead and I did a Facebook Live video, and I announced when it was coming out, and I thought I was being wise and just all, smart and all, by putting it out there for 2 weeks. I'm like, how hard can that be? Right? So I gave myself 2 weeks. Unbeknownst to me, I probably should have given myself about 4 weeks. Because over the next 2 weeks, I now had a fire that was underneath my you-know-what. And I had to race. And here's the thing. Behind the scenes videos I was doing, a 30-minute video, I spent 2 to 3 hours editing in the background. I was so self-conscious about every little word, every little pause. I was so self-conscious. I edited everything out that I could possibly edit, to the point to where I came back to my founding mentor. I came back to Mike, and I was just like, so my video looks really chopped up. How is anybody even going to want to watch it? And he's like, go out there and watch other YouTube videos. You're going to see the same pattern. And I did. So that made comfort. But so my point is that's where I started from. Spending hours and hours in the background, editing out every little and and all that stuff, all the little ticky words that we commonly say in between the silent moments. Well, what happened is I eventually got enough reps in that I have no problem being in front of camera nowadays. There's absolutely no. I'll get in front of camera. You give me a microphone, I'll go to town for 2 hours. And then I have my current coach telling me you need to stop being a fire hose, because that's what literally happens when you get me going. Is I'm just like shh, and then everybody's overwhelmed or they don't know what to do with all the information. She's like, you've got to like pull back. But the point is I finally did it. I got myself out there. I produced something, which is what he wanted. That the whole point of that is to get me to have experience in front of the camera. Launched my own podcast, and then eventually that morphed into me meeting Aldwyn. We launched Total Truth Show. We now do live shows. I'm not afraid of the live camera anymore. If I screw up, you get to laugh at me. So there you go. And I've had definitely screw ups on this shows. I've messed up words. I think our first episode, I mispronounced Aldwyn's last name. It's just like, hey, we're launching this show and I just mispronounced my co-host's last name. How great does that make me look? Right?
It's okay. It's not just you, kid.
So the point of that is like, you eventually get enough
repetition.
Repetition. Thank you. I was getting tongue-tied. Repetitions in, and see, even that, like, I don't care about that. Like, people stutter on words all the time. It's not a big deal. Like, I'm not going to force myself to go back and edit that out. Unless it's really bad, then I will. But get enough repetitions in, and it's now natural to me. Like, I have no problem doing interviews, getting in front of cameras, getting in front of an audience. I love it when I get in front of a host that is a great host and she knows how to draw out things in my own journey that I have actually never shared before. I recently was interviewed on a really good friend's show. I forget what, something Fortress or something like that. The interview is actually on my profile. One of the most powerful interviews I've ever been on. The questions that she asked me were just absolutely phenomenal. And the things that I was able to share. There's another one that I'm going to be on coming up soon where I'm really looking forward to, because we actually did a practice round beforehand because we kind of wanted to see what was going to get drawn out, and she's got a different type of audience. And so she wanted to kind of help me to curate the message to what would attract her audience. And the questions she asked me on this practice pre-interview was just, I shared things like I never shared. And so like those kind of things, I love that kind of stuff now. But in the beginning, you'd never know that I hated being in front of the camera. I had no interest in being in front of the camera, sharing out my life, giving, here's what I do and all the things. I had no interest in any of that at that time. But because I stood up, but because I went in front of the microphone, I did not give in to the fear of being afraid of the camera and microphone. Look at where I'm at. Look at where I'm at today.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's why I decided that as part of the project to offer a fourth way of people being able to share their story was by coming on Zoom with me, and we'd go through the story together. So if they were unsure about how to write their story and what they wanted to tell and what they wanted to keep out, I'd ask them questions. We'd fluff out the story, and then they could go away and fill out all the details and then send it back to me. So it was just an extra way of people who were a little bit shy or a little bit uncertain about how to share their vulnerability with me or with the audience. So yeah, and it's proved quite it hasn't taken off yet, but I'm hoping that it will, because I know Aldwyn's booked an appointment with me to do that. So yeah, we're going to fluff through her story and see how it lands, and it's given me a bit of practice on how I can do that for other people.
Yes, I think it's brilliant. The Impactful Voice Project, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And, some of you know I did an impact change retreat. So I'm all about impact and change and helping people share their stories, I think is absolutely wonderful. And often we're too close to our story to see what the gems of our story are as well. And to be able to share our story succinctly is a whole other thing. There was a lot of gems in what you shared there, Ken. I did 3 years of Toastmasters. In Toastmasters, they count your ums and ahs. Now, after
I don't anymore.
No, after 3 years of Toastmasters, I still say ums and ahs and so's and all of that. It is what it is. And, this is me. This is me like that song is. Yeah, so much gold. And I, inch by inch, everything's a cinch is one of my favorite sayings. Inch by inch, everything's a cinch. Another great one is everything is hard until it becomes easy. Everything is hard until it becomes easy. So if you stick with it long enough, as you did, Ken, you stuck with it longer. You were very shy initially. You were being an absolute perfectionist. Taking hours to edit a half-hour video. And sometimes we worry too much about looking good as opposed to just sharing our message. And I think this stops a lot of people too, because they're worried about what people are going to think. They're worried about how they're going to come across, all that. And that's where building the self-love and self-resilience to share yourself, because you're going to find there's people going to love you and hate you no matter what you do. The more you build your profile, the more you share of yourself, you're going to have more people that love you and more people that hate you. Just look at Donald Trump as a great example. Okay, Donald Trump is a brilliant example of this. Now, I'm sure there are some people that still love Donald Trump out there. I don't know how many there are left, but, I'm sure there are still some. But, yeah, he's got his followers and he's got those that absolutely hate him as well, as a great example. But he doesn't care. He just goes out and does his thing. Oh, we're just going to throw some more bombs on Iran. No problem. He just goes and does his thing, right? And I know Ken's a bit of a Trump fan. So anyway, and Ken also loves meat and I'm more vegetarian. So we also have our differences, but we still, respect each other for our differences of opinions. We don't have to be nasty with people just because they have different opinions or beliefs to you. But back to Donald Trump, you've got to admire the guy's resilience. He's been shot at. How many attempts have there been to kill the guy?
4 now.
4 attempts to kill him, and he still gets up and he goes and does his thing, right? So
I still think they're I don't think they're true assassination attempts at all. I think they're staged,
right.
Because usually when the attempts happen, there's something going on in the background he wants to deflect from. So at the moment, it's the Epstein files. It's to do with him being impeached, the setting of electoral boundaries now, changing of that. There's just a lot of other things that are going on, and I like the latest one. They said that he fired his gun. There's no muzzle shot, no muzzle blast in any of the videos, but there is a muzzle blast from the Secret Service man. So I don't even think he fired his gun. So look really closely at the video.
Fascinating.
He had his rifle there, but there was no muzzle flash at all.
Thank you for sharing that, Rose. I'm going to do a bit more research into that. So do your own research, guys, and don't just look on Google, because it'll give you one point of view. So look on other, browsers like Brave and other ones, right? To get
I've seen the video. I've seen the slow-mo of the video. There is no muzzle flash out of the so-called assassin's gun, but there is one out of the Secret Service agent.
Wow. That's extraordinary. Well, that's very interesting. That's news to me, Rose. So there you go. I didn't know that. I'm going to look into that further. And that's the thing. Keep an open mind, question everything, because a lot of what we're seeing is smoke and mirrors out there. And this is why so many people have lost trust, which, coming back to our topic of sharing your lived experiences content, is so important, because we do not know who to trust, because we've got so many corrupt politicians and so many liars out there, and so many people scamming other people as well. The scammers have gone. There's US trillions of dollars of scammers going on as well. I just heard about a guy the other day got ripped off tens of thousands of dollars, believing someone he met on an online dating site, who then ended up basically they set up a joint crypto account together, and apparently he thought that was together, and it was actually her crypto account, and she put all this money into it, and now it's all gone. So be very, very careful out there. And of course, because it's crypto, it's very hard to get the money back. So there's people doing all sorts of little schemy little things out there, ripping people off, and they're preying on vulnerable people. This person had just lost his partner of 20-something years to cancer, and then he goes out looking for love again, finds this bloody con artist. So is with the con artists out there, they've got to live with themselves. At the end of the day, there is such a thing as karma, and what comes around goes around, I believe, not necessarily by the same people that you do nasty things to, but it will come around, no doubt about it. I've seen it again and again in my lifetime, and yeah, it's an interesting world we live in right now. So we are due to wrap up shortly. Any other final words about our topic today, Rose? The truth about lived experience being treated as content.
I think, just be careful who you share your story with, and to share what you share online, it can't be taken back. I mean, it doesn't matter if you delete it; it's still out there. It's somewhere it can be found. So I'm. This is more geared now towards the teenagers, about sexting and deep fakes and all those sorts of things. To me, those deep fakes that are being passed around schools is so alarming to me. Why would anyone be so nasty as to do that to another human being? Is beyond my comprehension whatsoever. I think if you want to be nasty, do it in the playground. Don't make fake profiles. Don't make fake photos. I mean, right. AI has a lot to answer for, but honestly, it's the humans behind it that are, AI can only do what a human tells it to do. And this deep fake stuff is quite disturbing. And I think, why would you do that to someone else and ruin their life? If you break up with someone, it doesn't give you the excuse to ruin that person's life.
Because hurt people. That's what happens. Hurt people. So
yes, but I don't understand it. I've been hurt and I've never done that to anyone else. So they've obviously got no moral compass whatsoever.
Yeah, well, it's not about being hurt once. I think it's people that are hurting in their lives constantly, like that are just constantly in whinge mode and constantly angry and constantly, in that hurting state. They'll just go out and be nasty to others because they feel crap about their own lives often. And then you've got sociopaths and psychopaths, and most of them are in government. So, there's a lot we can learn from them, obviously, pathological liars, etc. But let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. But yes, I hear you, Rose, and I think it's, people can tell. I think people can tell whether you're sharing from the heart or whether you're not, whether you're sharing from your lived experience or whether you're not, because robots.
Off the track there a little bit about the question that you asked me, but it was on my mind. I've just, we were talking about, people being fake and karma and all that sort of stuff. But I think sharing, you need to be careful who you're sharing with. You need to be careful about what you are sharing online. I think that's really important. But if you can help one person in, by sharing your story, I think your job's done.
Yes.
That's my philosophy. If you can just help one person by sharing your lived experience, that's a job well done.
Yeah, I love that. Now, how can people connect with you and be involved in the Impactful Voice Project, Rose?
They can reach out to me on my website at rosedavidson.com.au, or they can find the podcast, Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson, on Spotify and on Apple, where the podcast is about how to share a story and, giving some hints and tips on how to share authentically and, to be to allow yourself to be vulnerable to be able to share those stories.
Beautiful. Love that. And they can also go to rosedavidson.bio.link, which has all your...
Everything's there. Yeah, everything's on that one.
Beautiful. Fantastic. And what's a favourite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today, Rose?
No, don't wait for the opportunity, create it. I learned that a long time ago because I thought, if I keep waiting for things to come to me, they're not going to happen. So I create my own opportunities.
Love it. Love that. Thank you so much, Rose. Amazing. And now over to Ken. Ken, how can people connect with you?
Well, you can connect with me through going to www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. So you've already heard much of my story today, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Right now, I am giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you feel energized, lose weight, and get healthy without starving or dieting, but I am also in 3 one-on-one sessions with me exposing the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I'm showing them how they can fuel their body God's way and finally break free from that system and keep the weight off sustainably for life. And 3 live one-on-one sessions with me. And that boot camp, it's a mini educational boot camp, not an ED plan, not a workout plan, a mini educational boot camp. That boot camp will empower you. If you're already on a health journey, it's going to add on to your health journey, and it's going to empower that health journey and supercharge that. So to get into that boot camp, which is reasonably priced, you can go to www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. And that page is my connect page. There'll be 4 buttons on that page. One is to join my boot camp. The second one is to book a free strategy call with me. Maybe you don't know where you want to start. Let's get on a strategy call. Let's unpack that. There's another button on there to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then there's also a button to find me on Facebook and connect with me there. So that is all the things. And as far as my quote, so it's not really a quote. I'm actually going to steal something from a past episode that we had. Stand up and speak up. Get in front of the microphone. If you've got something to share, you've got a story to share, and you know that it's powerful and it can change lives, stand up, get in front of the mic, and speak up. And I believe the episode that came from was the person that was being interviewed was my founding mentor, Mike Montez. I think that was one of his topics. Stand up and speak up. There you go.
Thank you, Ken. Amazing. And for those who want to connect with me, just go to linktree/Aldwyn. You'll see this right across all my socials in my bio, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. For those on audio, Spotify, etc. We have a YouTube channel, Aldwyn Altuney Media Queen. We just hit over 1,000 subscribers. Yay. Around 340,000 views, finally hit 1,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed, because that is one of the ways you can monetize YouTube is by getting over 1,000 subscribers. So thank you. I really appreciate it for those who've joined me there. We also have our Fear to Freedom Book 2 that we are currently inviting authors into. So if you want to share your story in here, Fear to Freedom, Book 2 that I'm teaming up with Dame Rita Rose from Sydney for that one, then reach out, send me a PM and just go Fear to Freedom book, and then we'll get in touch and see if there's an alignment there for you to come into the book. We're going to be wrapping that up in the next few weeks, and then putting the stories together and coaching people and mentoring people to help share their story as well, like Rose does. So reach out if you want to be involved in that. And if you want to be seen, heard, and known, if you want to get out into the mass media, if you want to get on podcasts, get in traditional media, etc., then reach out to me as well. And you'll find all those links there. The Global Good News Challenge is free every month. I've just finished my 5 days for May 2026, my 5-day Global Good News Challenge, sharing gratitude and good news. It's amazing how you feel when you share gratitude and good news. It definitely will put a smile on your dial. There's my big smile that you will have on your dial when you do the Global Good News Challenge. So I challenge you to do a free Global Good News Challenge for May, 5 days. Anytime within May, you can start your challenge. All the details are at the top of the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. All right, and that's about it for all my links. Just check them all out there: Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm all over all those social platforms. Now, I have 2 quotes today to share. The first one is from Oprah Winfrey. It's "Turn your wounds into wisdom." Turn your wounds into wisdom. I really like that. And turning your mess into your message. That was one I got from Pat Mesiti. He talks about turning your mess into your message. So that stuck with me from Pat Mesiti, as one of my mentors from many years ago. And another one is from Nelson Mandela. "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." that the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall, from Nelson Mandela. And in sharing your lived experience as content on socials, we look forward to hearing from you. Let us know if you've joined us live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Let us know what you've thought of this show. What are some of the ahas that you've got from this show? And share a lived experience. If you feel game, if you feel confident enough, then we welcome you, invite you to share your lived experience, share some stories with us, and let's all help lift the energy out there with our lived experience stories of how we've overcome our fear and how we've turned it into freedom, whether it's fear to freedom directly or somewhere where you've had a low moment and you've come out the other side. We'd love to hear your stories. Rose, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Total Truth Show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been my absolute pleasure to be here and to sharing. I just wanted to share with you that I've done a bit of research about the project, and as far as I can tell, the project is quite unique in that it isn't a paid thing to share a story. Most places where you share stories, they ask you to pay a fee. So mine's unique in the fact that it follows the way that people share is for free. So yeah, it's quite a unique way of doing it.
It is very unique. That is wonderful that you do that. And are you going to be, the stories are going on your website? Are they going into?
They go on the website and then they go on social media, and people are given the link that they can share with their own audiences in a newsletter or on their, Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever they share their socials.
Beautiful. And are you also doing, with the interviews you do, are you doing like an online podcast as well, or online?
Yeah, the podcast is just solo at the moment. But after I've done 10 episodes, then I'm thinking about interviewing. So I'll be reaching out and putting out social media things to say that I'm looking for guests. So
beautiful. Fantastic. So that is amazing. So definitely connect with Rose with her Impactful Voice project. I'll just quickly pop your link up again for those who missed it, rosedavidson.bio.link. You'll see all her links there. Connect with Rose to be involved in that. It is free, which is amazing. Just like the Global Good News Challenge is free as well. There's lots of actually free opportunities out there for you. Not so many where people share their whole story, Rose, as you say. So I haven't seen too many of those. I have seen the odd one or two here over the years, but most of the time it is a pay to play situation. And one way or another, you're investing your time. You either invest your time to save money or you invest your money to save time, they say, with things that you invest in. So one way or another, it's all time and money. And at the end of the day, none of it matters anyway, because none of us are getting out alive. But while we're here, let's make the most of every moment. Ken, any final words today?
Not at all. Just if you've got a God call on your life and he's calling you to get out there, get in front of the camera or get in front of the microphone, just be obedient. He will equip you. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're unqualified, because he will equip you. And the honest truth is, the more repetitions you get in, the better you're going to get. That's it.
True. And when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. Thank you so much. I love that. Thank you so much, Rose. Ken, thank you for tuning in. Total Truth Show episode 133. It's a wrap. Sending you all much love. Follow us on Spotify, all the places. Give us a review. We'd love that. Sending you much love, and share the love if you think someone else can benefit from this show today. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Total Truth Show. Bye for now.